Okay, so let's get into this story. So let's get to this Bravo producer, because we talked about it the other day, that Patrick McDonald, who was once upon a time on a show called Fire Island. Then he got into producing a lot of shows for Bravo, including Vanderpump Rules and a bunch of other stuff. He also did the Housewives of Atlanta. He also did Portia's spinoff show that she did. He was the one that they showed, and he talked about it in the interview. He was the one that when Portia was going to beat somebody with a foreign object, he was the one that held her back to make sure, like, okay, sis, you need to relax, because if you hit somebody with this and you end up in jail, it's about to be a situation like you can kill somebody with what you're doing. But anyway, so he did a lot of shows. He produced the whole Scandal thing that was over there on Vanderpump Rules. He even called out Lisa Vanderpump at one point, because he said in the interview that when he came out with his video, when he was talking about a lot of the grievances that a lot of people who work behind the scenes were dealing with as producers and as cameramen, the crew, a lot of what they were dealing with behind the scenes filming these reality shows. When he was speaking up for them, he said he got a call from Thailand. He was in Thailand at the time in the interview with Bethany. He got a phone call from Lisa Vanderpump, and she was like trying to pick his brain and figure out, okay, is this a thing? Are you plan on coming back into the industry? Do you want to work for us? And I don't know. So she's trying to find out sources on who's been spilling tea to him or whatever the case is. I guess so that way, she could bully them or do whatever. I always said Lisa Vanderpump, there's always been something a little sinister and snakish about her. Hence why, a lot of the girls, they were saying that about her when she was on the Housewives of Beverly Hills. But she was doing her own shows, and I guess people give a damn about it over there. So, yeah. So, in addition to that, he actually sat down with Bethany Frankel on her show, Just Be. And basically, it was like a two-parter. And I posted both videos on my website, chrisavalon.com. So if y'all want to go over there and see the exact YouTube videos and how to get to it, or you could just go to Bethany Frankel YouTube, and the videos are there. It's split in two parts. So he basically was talking about, like, the treatment of crew members. So in addition to him spilling the tea on social media, he actually sat down with Bethany and they did an interview. And basically claimed that it's a bummer to the network producers when a cast member gets sober. So Patrick McDonald, who stepped back from his work on reality TV to launch an OF career, because his boyfriend also does OF, he appeared on the podcast, and this was on Friday, where they suggested the show rewards drunkenness and punishes boring sobriety. Now, I do have that clip, which I want to play for y'all, but I also want to play the other piece that I saw over on his page from, that's on TikTok, which I'll get to that for a second. But I feel like I want to play for y'all the thing where he talks about the overall drunken behavior and stuff that they push for, which I told y'all, I did an episode of Real Housewives of New York where I had to give the girls alcohol. So I truly believe in what he said. So this is from Bethany's thing. I'm going to play this clip and then we'll come back and talk. Please hold.
Is mental health, substance abuse, emotional abuse, and sobriety, is it exploited on these shows?
Yes.
No discussion.
Yeah. I mean, that's the addiction and the substance abuse kind of storylines are something that always made me a little uneasy. Anytime we were talking about someone's alcoholism or a drug addiction or any of that, it's so fragile and something not to be taken lightly, and to be amplified by these shows. I can't imagine trying to or stay or get sober while being on one of these shows.
So they should not have people on these shows that have proclivity to addiction. Someone who has had any experience with addiction should probably not be on.
I mean, you probably, for your own health and well-being, no, you probably
and
shouldn't.
The network, though,
maybe.
I'm saying, yeah.
I don't know, because then you have people who are in recovery who are living great, healthy, balanced lives that can totally handle something like that. But I don't know. But it is a situation where people, when somebody gets sober on one of these shows, it's always like, oh God, really? Okay. Well, I guess there goes the fun version of that. You know what I mean?
It's a bummer to production when someone's sober.
It's a bummer to production when someone gets sober, for sure. Which is so crazy to think about. And it's like someone who has been through that themselves. Like I have been through that, and just being caught up in that world. That's the commonplace. It's like, oh God, they're getting sober. Okay. And you know what I mean? It's like, no, wait, what? That's good for them. So, I mean, it's like similar to the Karen Huger situation. She got this DUI. She's literally sitting in a jail cell right now. And her alcohol consumption has been something that production has been very well aware of for many years.
Mhm.
There's been many scenes, all cast events like, hey, we got to make sure we get Karen home,
Oh yeah, that's on every cast. There's ones on ours with drugs. I mean, drugs on our show. Like definitely, the crew knows who's doing drugs and who's not doing drugs in the workplace. Like again, but then they hope that it's going to be discussed and brought into scene that other people are going to question that person's drug use.
Yeah. And then when like Karen gets a DUI, everybody acts all like shocked and surprised. Well, I mean, it's like her third one, you know what I mean? And
Yes.
how many times have we had to have like somebody drive her home from something, So
like same thing. We had a statistic recently that had like 25% of all housewives have had like incarcerations or arrests or, financial illegal activity. And in my friend group, like in anyone's normal circle, you don't have 25% of people that have not just had a brush with the law, but like have been in jail, arrested, have a DUI, have defrauded the government. And then there's also the financial foreclosure. Like, does that speak volumes?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it is definitely like an exaggerated version, and it's definitely an amplified world, yeah, I mean, in what world would you sit there and go have dinner with the woman who's like now engaged to your ex-boyfriend who's suing you? You would never ever ever do that,
right?
But because in this situation you are forced to, you know what I mean?
Well, the networks.
Okay, so we're gonna pause it there because it gets pretty lengthy, and I don't want to have to be like, okay, we got the whole damn episode. If y'all want to see the full situation, you could definitely go over to Bethany's YouTube channel and check it out, because he also talks about the fact that when back in his experience, because he did mention in the clip, he was like, yeah, as someone who's experienced this, because Patrick McDonald once upon a time did a reality show called Fire Island that was on Logo. And he was talking about how, like, at the time when he was going through his stuff and he was going through a meth addiction, and he said in between scenes he would go in the bathroom and do his meth and come out and film. And I was like watching the show, I was like, yeah, he did look a little, like, looking back on it, he did look like he was going through some things. He looked a little sweaty, he looked a little rough, he looked a little malnourished. So you could definitely, if you look back on it, see the signs that she was a Methodist. So I love the fact that Patrick was very open and transparent and speaking out about it, but also on his TikTok, he posted a preview where he was basically talking about the toxic work culture over there at Bravo as well. So we're going to play that clip and then we'll come back and talk.
There was a report that came out recently that Housewives generated over $300 million for Peacock last year. All while the rate of pay for producers and crew members has gone unchanged for like the past decade.
Wow.
There's been no increase in the rates of each position in so many years, while the network and Peacock is raking in millions and millions and millions of dollars. How about putting some of that money in the cameraman's pockets, who is literally carrying the show on his back, or putting those in the pockets of the producers who are working day and night to bring these stories to life? Maybe compensate them for some of the work they're doing and maybe start treating them better.
Well, here's who has reached out to you, which is interesting because, like I said, I started this by saying it's remarkable that people who are currently on the show would say something to you. So there's a shift. These are the people that commented publicly. Crystal Kong Minkoff, you were a shining light during very challenging experiences for me. Miss seeing you on a daily. Heart.
Love Crystal.
The real Candace. My darling Gaga, you shine for all of us in a world that is sometimes dark, twisty, and convoluted. You are a light. You are brave. I love you so much. And then she said, reality TV cast and crew need a union, full stop. Thank you for saying the quiet part out loud. Vanderpump Rules, co-executive producer. Love you and loved working with you. Unbelievable. Sharice Jackson Jordan, Potomac, happiness over everything. You're such an amazing person and by far one of the realest producers in the industry. Wishing you the very best. Robin Dixon, Potomac, I love you, Patrick. Jason Augustine, who's an audio mixer on Winter House, said, absolutely loved working with you. Thank you for saying all this. I wish you the very best in your endeavors. The whole industry needs to be unionized. Lauren Fluker, segment producer, 2 seasons, Real Housewives of Atlanta, also Beverly Hills. My mentor, I'm going to cry. My mentor, my friend, I love you. And as always, I appreciate your transparency. I so hate that it came to this because your passion for any project or show you take on is truly aspirational. I've become a better producer and person under your tutelage and with your advocacy. We see you. Thanks for sharing. I love you. And then last, DP and head of camera department, Vanderpump Rules. Patrick, I consider you one of the best producers I've ever known, but more importantly, I consider you a friend. So while we may be losing one of the best producers out there, I'm just glad you found that work-life balance so many of us in the reality TV industry are constantly chasing. Love you, brother. Those people will have been reprimanded by now, and I give them a shout out too, because it's courageous even to like and comment on your video, which they did, which speaks to you and why we're talking and why so many people have reached out to me. But I wanted to talk to you because I felt that you had the best intentions with no agenda.
Well, thank you, Bethany.
I almost forgot I had to bring myself back. But yeah, so it goes to show, like, you know what? And I know a lot of people are probably going to feel like, well, why is Bethany speaking up on this? Like, I don't know. So it's like, well, you benefited so much from being on Housewives and stuff. And it's like, that's true to an extent, but I also feel like Bethany was going to be something whether or not the Housewives came along or not because of her background and where she comes from and how, that whole situation. So yeah, she do The Apprentice, not the one with Trump, but she did one with Martha Stewart. She was on that show. Nobody remembers it, but she was on that. Then she ended up doing, I don't know when the timeline was, if it was a year, a couple of years later, but she did the Housewives of New York. And yeah, she used her skinny girl as a way to sell her products, which they always say that with reality TV shows, is that when you have a product or whatever the case is, you use you use the reality TV show as a platform to catapult and to promote your stuff. Because quiet as was kept, they ain't paying nobody no money over there at Bravo. I mean, it is some that make a shit ton of money, but for the most part, but that's years. You have to be pounding the pavement and doing things for years when you can accumulate that kind of money. But Bethany, with her brands, she was the one that was able to accumulate and use that. And so she was smart enough to parlay her, using the show to big up her stuff. And then she mentioned in the story, in the interview, that so many people have come on the show and be like, oh, I want to do what Bethany did. So they want her success. So it was a give and take from both sides. So Bravo benefited just like she did. So, and since then, she's been successful outside of the Bravo sphere, the Housewives. She don't need the Housewives to still be able to accumulate the money she's been accumulating. And the fact of what does Patrick have to gain from this? Everybody that has spoken about up for him have nothing bad to say about him. He wasn't fired. There's nobody saying that he did anything, any kind of misconduct or anything inappropriate behind the scenes. It was that he was at his wit's end. He was doing all this work. He put his head down. He was relying too much on this. And I guess maybe because he's in a relationship with someone who professionally does OF and he sees how happy his man is and how much money he's making and how he gets to travel the world. Like, I have a lot of friends who do what Patrick does and have been doing it for a while. I know Patrick is probably new at I mean, yeah, he did do the movie with, what was it, Royal Fuck Club? You remember that gang bang, sis? But, well, I do. And, I have friends that do OF professionally and stuff, and I talk about how, like, they make their own hours, they make their own money, they travel the world, and they're happy. They get to live their best life. They don't have to live by the restraints of a corporation or somebody telling them what time they gotta get up, what time they gotta go to bed. Like, it's prison almost when you work in a regular job, and then you having to work those crazy hours shooting to make a deadline for a reality show. Like, he's not beholden to that. And you know what? With the way he looks and how he keeps that body on point and the connections that he makes, he'll make a lot of money doing OF. And I don't know why people thumb their nose at adult performance and adult cinematography and stuff, because a lot of y'all watch it and are putting money in this man's pocket. So shout out to him for speaking up for those who feel disenfranchised and feel like they don't have a wherewithal or say so. And he also mentioned that Sheena Shea from Vanderpump Rules got demoted to friend of on various seasons because her storylines weren't dark enough. But then, of course, I should point out that a Bravo insider basically said there is no truth to any of this. Well, of course, a Bravo insider is going to defend the machine. So why would they? And this is all in, in light of Leah McSweeney has her big lawsuit where he's out there saying, yeah, they get mad when you want to sober up and you don't want to play the game and give them entertainment anymore. And drinking is encouraged on these shows where I told you I went down there. They didn't have me do it. I decided to do it. They asked me to do it. They could have found somebody else to do it. But I said, yeah, I'll do it because I knew I was going to be on TV. So I passed these women the drinks when they did the Sending the Clowns episode of The Real Housewives of New York when Tinsley Mortimer was the ringmaster. I was giving the girls a drink. You see me on camera. I had a conversation with Tinsley's mother and I passed the ladies the drinks and kept it moving. So yeah, drinking is encouraged because they want them to be loose so that way they can get some kind of conflict, drama, whatever the case was. There was even one scene where Tinsley and Sonia were just talking about a bunch of nothing, and Tinsley's eyes was so, like, she was so out of it, them eyes was heavy, or it might have been the eyelashes. And I'm sitting there helping the crew. I'm holding up the wire to the boom mic or whatever, so that way it's not in the shot. So I'm helping them out. Now, I'm not going to sit here and bullshit y'all. So, yes, Patrick, I'm glad you spoke out. I'm glad that you out here spilling tea about what's going on behind the scenes. And, child, if you want to come on here and spill on this show, I don't mind getting like an exclusive interview or whatever. I mean, it ain't that exclusive no more because you had a conversation with Bethany. But I definitely want to hear from y'all. What do you guys think of this story in which Patrick McDonald was speaking out about the discrepancies that was going on behind the scenes at Bravo? And it seemed like, you know what, reality TV, not only just in the Bravo world, but just reality TV in general, needs its reckoning. Not just with the money and stuff, but I also feel like, yeah, y'all need to treat y'all staff and the staff, the crew, the talent, y'all got to treat them better than the way y'all treating them. But y'all feel like because they're non-union, that you could just treat them any which way. Thank God in my profession, because I work in live entertainment, I am unionized. So all the stuff that y'all be trying to do and treat people whatever, you ain't gonna do that to me because I got protection. So I definitely understand why it is definitely warranted for a lot of these people where they ain't gonna work y'all to the damn bone. Take care of your crew because then you'll get better stuff and better, things out of them as well as your talent. So let me know what you guys think of this story in the comments down below.